welcome to Culture by Neurodesign. I'm Dr. Lisa College, and I'm the CEO and founder of Lisa College Consulting. In this podcast, I talk about how investing in a single inclusion initiative, cultural change inspired by cognitive inclusion, will not only benefit your people metrics, think about engagement, think about satisfaction, for example, but also your business metrics. And pretty much anyone that you like will be benefited. Think about productivity and income from innovation, customer satisfaction, you name it, they'll all be benefited. I've been recording this opening series of podcasts, having just launched this podcast, to introduce myself to you and to give you a sense that you know me and what I stand for and my experience. And this is the last episode in that opening theme. This episode is called From Ambition to Action, What It's Like to Work with Me. I am a British girl, so talking about myself in this way is, to be perfectly honest, quite uncomfortable for me, but I really value being transparent and being open and taking accountability for things, including who you are. And I think that it's important that you have a sense of how I see myself if you are going to be partnering with me. And so in that spirit, I'm going to record this uncomfortable episode. So how am I going to do it? I'm going to work in three sections to get over the discomfort. The first section is going to be to explain to you the kind of work that I like doing and why. In the second, I'm going to share 7 quotes that I have collected over my life to date, which really guide how I show up and how I want to work. And in the third and final section, I'm going to share the results from a StandOut assessment that I did, and you can all do it for free online as well if you want to. It's really good. I highly recommend it. So let's get started with the kind of work that I like doing. So what I really love is taking things that most people consider to be quite vague and turning them into tangible, actionable, measurable plans that people can get engaged with and people can progress. And when I say vague, they're often projects that are highly ambitious but expressed in quite an ambiguous way. They're always complex, and they're quite often emotional for people when they think about them. But I like working on those kind of projects. It suits me well. I'm also really good at it. Right, so if you listen to the previous episode, episode 5, where I shared 3 case studies of sustainable competitive change that I've led, then you'll see examples of this kind of big project where you have a very complex situation and everything seems connected to everything else in a big tangle, and it's not clear where you can find an end to start at. Where is the end? It's just a big mush. I can always find the end. I'm really good at it and I like it. So what do I think makes me good at it? I talked in the very, very first episode of this podcast about how much I love making sense of things, how intrigued I am by patterns and the insights that you can derive from information, from data. I love making connections between things. And that's really how I see those kind of problems. I don't like it when things are messy and unactionable. It kind of itches at me and I can't rest until it's sorted out nicely. How I tend to think about those complex situations is in components. I like to break them down into chunks, subsections, if you will, and I tend in my mind to put them into a hierarchy. And once things are broken down in that way, it's quite easy for me to reconfigure them in different ways that is closer to where you want to go. And quite often you can introduce new things from outside what you start with to really make things even better or to accelerate them or whatever. I think that the skills that I've derived from working on both the business side of things, the product side of a corporate organization, as well as in the people focused role, those different kinds of skills and experiences are extremely complementary to each other. and they help me to be able to see these complex situations from multiple angles as well. That's a big benefit. Because I'm older, I have experience in working with multiple levels of seniority. I'm as comfortable working with the person who started work this morning as I am working with the CEO. It really doesn't bother me what your seniority is. I care what you have to say. So that's the first kind of work that I would say that I like. The second is influencing. I love influencing. I love working out what motivates people and working out what the common ground is between different kinds of people in different roles or people with different motivations. I love working out if something is non-negotiable or whether if something is a challenge that can be overcome and putting it all together. I'm good at politics. For this reason, because I like influencing and because I'm good at politics, I've never wanted to have a large team of people reporting to me. I have had direct reports, but actually I'm at my best when I don't have direct reports, but I have a large number of people to influence. I see myself then as like a neutral, safe person without any vested interest except the success of the program or project that I'm leading. And people can come to me in an open and trusting atmosphere of exchange. That's also a way that I like to work. And the third and final thing that I'll highlight about how I like to work is something that I never realized was a skill, to be honest, until quite recently, because it's so natural to me. But I quite often used to get complimented in the corporate job I had as a great executor. And I would think, like, what other way is there of being other than executing? Of course you want to do things, right? And the person who likes to get things done. And after a while, I realized that there were an awful lot of people in the company who were good strategists and extremely good at making beautiful PowerPoint decks, but really didn't know how to translate that vision in the PowerPoint deck into actions that people could actually take so that the project was progressed. And that's why they remarked that I was an extremely good executor. I'm a good project manager, program manager, and I have a really, well, it's easy for me. I can always find a way forwards. There's always some kind of small step that we can take, even when things look dismal and people are too busy. There's always something that we can do to keep progressing. But I like to do all these things by making sure that I do have time to consider. It's important for me to have time on my own to just sit and contemplate, so that a structure, a shape can emerge, and then I'll discuss it with people. But I do need a regular quiet time on my own to let things just sit for a while before progressing. All right, so that's the first section. That's the kind of work that I like. And I said in the second section, I'm going to share some quotes which I've collected through my life and which guide me in the way that I show up and the way that I behave. So there are 7 of them I'll share with you. So I hope that you're someone who likes quotes. And what I'll do is I'll say the quote and see if you can guess where it's from, or see if you know where it's from before I tell you. So the first one is, rule number 1, don't panic. I like this one because it means you don't need to react instantly. It's good to think before acting. Find out the facts, listen to your instinct. Almost everything doesn't need to be addressed right now, right? Often while you're finding out the facts and thinking, things will sort themselves out to some extent, and sometimes totally. But I trust that everything works out in the end. There's always a way forward. So that's my first and favorite quote. And it's from The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. All right, second one is, the future is not set. There's no fate but what we make for ourselves. And I love this one because it tells me you always have a choice. You can always choose to make a difference. Nobody determines your fate but you. Even if you feel stuck, You can always decide how you want to go out into the day, whether you want to go out with a smile on your face and be optimistic, or whether you want to go out and be miserable. So I really love that quote, and many of you will know it's from Terminator. The third quote, I haven't ever known anybody to get this quote, to be honest. So let's see. This one is "Never give up, never surrender." It's from a film, and it was actually said in this way: "Never give up, never surrender." Right, I don't know if that helps you. The reason that I like this quote is that it reminds me that there is always more than one way to get to your destination. It's not this way or nothing. There's always an alternative way to reach the same place, and you can find it. It's important not to give up. You have to turn up, be reliable in turning up, be reliable in doing what you say that you're going to do, and do the best that you can. Nobody can ask for anything more. Even if it's wrong, you do your best. So this is not the same as saying that you should never stop something. I just think that you shouldn't stop because you give up. You should stop because you actively decide, this is no longer where I want to invest my energy, and I decide to stop. And that quote is from the film Galaxy Quest. If anybody got that, please let me know, and I'll give you a personal congratulation. Fourth one is, you can't go back and change the beginning, but you can start where you are and change the ending. Remarkably, I'm quite proud of myself for this. In my life, I have got to this point without any regrets. It's definitely not the case that nothing has gone wrong. I've been in some very difficult situations where I've felt awful for a long time, but I don't regret anything that I've done, because I always did everything using the best information that I had at the time. And I think I've always learned from everything that's happened. You always have to start something to change. You can always take a step forwards. And I think it is important to decide to change something and just take a tiny, tiny step to start. First step's always the hardest one. So you just have to make it small, take a deep breath and go. And then probably it's not so bad and you can keep on going. That quote is from C.S. Lewis. There's 3 more quotes to go. I wonder how you're doing. The 5th one is, success is not final. Failure is not fatal. It's the courage to continue that counts. And this one, yeah, I mean, I have found myself feeling frightened several times in my life of decisions that I could make. But because I just told you that with a quote from C.S. Lewis, I don't want to have regrets, I think it's also important that you don't let fear make your decision for you. So you have to be brave and think that, you know, if everything was easy, it would have been done already. And if it was easy, it's probably not going to be as worthwhile as this thing that is scaring me that I'm about to do. So it's important to just find the courage and the support to help you and continue sometimes. That quote's from Winston Churchill, a beautiful quote. Next one is, the simple fact is that nobody ever learned anything by listening to themselves speak. And this is really, you know, you can't find the right answer on your own. No matter how good you are at something, you're not good at everything, and other people always have other perspectives or value that they can add to make your idea, your input even better. And this is something which is directly relevant to my business, right? That no one person can do something on their own. You always need the team and the different styles and strengths in your team to help. People usually, almost always actually, love to share and help if you ask them. And so you don't have to try and do everything on your own. You can just ask people and listen to what they say to you. That quote is from Richard Branson, who has done rather well by living by that quote. I think we'll all agree. And the last one is, everyone is a genius, but if you judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree, it will live its whole life believing that it is stupid. Again, this is also directly relevant to the business that I have launched. So everyone everyone, without exception, has brilliant things to offer. As leaders in organizations, it is our responsibility, I believe, to find the right role where people are able to offer their brilliance, to put them in the right environment where they're enabled to contribute their brilliance. But it's always possible to find wonderful things that everybody offers. And if you can create an environment of cognitive inclusion, if you invest in that and you get some skills on board like mine to help you to build that, then you will be able to achieve anything, no matter what happens to you, what the world throws at you. Your organization will be resilient. It will have all of the ideas, all of the familiarity with data, all of the evaluation capacity, planning capacity, executing capacity, launching capacity that it needs to thrive, whatever happens to you. That last quote is by Albert Einstein. All right, I'm actually starting to enjoy this episode now. I've moved on from my initial discomfort. Let me continue then to the last section, which is what the StandOut assessment told me. The StandOut assessment is one of these personality kind of assessments where you answer a series of questions and it tells you what style you're closest to. But I really liked this one. This one was developed by Marcus Buckingham, and you can find it online and you can do it for free, so have a go. Now, by quite a long way, I am a stimulator. So Marcus says stimulators are the hosts of others' emotions. They feel responsible for them, for turning them around, and for elevating them. So what that means, apparently, is that I, as a stimulator, help to lift people up by looking for things that are going well, things that they can do well, by looking for the positive. I'll always try to find things that people are good at and celebrate that and help them to build on that. If you apply that to an organizational context, which is what I do in terms of my business, so cultural change inspired by neurodivergence, you're looking for what psychologists call the positive deviant, right? So it's pockets of behavior which do exist in your organization, which are closer to the vision of where you want to go than most of the rest of your organization. I love to find those. I love to find them and highlight them, because we know that they're relevant to your organization. We know that they can thrive in your particular organization because they're there. They're already there. And you can amplify them, you can scale them, and you can hold them up as a role model which others can copy. So if I talk about it like that, I suppose that I am what Marcus would call a stimulator. And he says that my key strength is my ability to turn my anxiety into confidence. I have to say, when I read that for the first time, I did think that wasn't really me. But peers that I esteem highly have laughed at me when I said that I thought that wasn't me, and said, Lisa, what do you mean? I've only ever known you to do this stuff. So there you go. I am a stimulator. I am the host of others' emotions and for elevating others. The StandOut assessment then says that my secondary affinity is equally a creator and a provider. A creator is about making sure that you understand what you understand, that you look at all the pieces that are there and see how you can fit them together, how you can organize chaos. So that's certainly what I was talking about at the beginning, right? Loving working on those complex projects and giving them structure. And a provider is someone who gives other people a voice and ensures that people can act on them. And I think that is very similar to what I talked about in terms of loving influencing and politics and always being able to find a way forwards. All right, that's the end of the new information in this podcast, and it's also the end of my first podcast theme, which was Meet Lisa, my journey from science to inclusive leadership. The next theme that I'm going to tackle in the podcast is DEI is dead, isn't it? I think this is a question which several of you are asking. Maybe you're thinking you're tired of DEI and you don't want to do it anymore. So I thought that I would tackle this question head on and share my perspective about why the old way of doing DEI may well be dead, but not to worry, because it's enabled us to learn a better way. And if you think that the better way is dead, then think again, because you're missing out on a very big opportunity for your business. So I hope I'll see you again back in that next theme. In the meantime, thanks for listening.